and we welcome you all this morning. Thank you very much. Now we will ask
take this time to welcome you once again to Seaqaqa, Madam Minister.
It's a great pleasure to be here this morning to launch this worthy cause, particularly in our recovery efforts post-tropical cyclone Yasa. We all know that 2020 has brought a lot of challenges, unprecedented challenges for us as a nation, in the form firstly of COVID-19, but also in relation to the tropical cyclones that have hit our country. The pandemic has impacted us in different ways and from different angles: health, economic, social, politics, education, and the list goes on. For people working in all industries and sectors, from all walks of life, this crisis has not only created a huge amount of fear and anxiety, but has also added to existing problems that they face. For example, the severe implications of climate change for us in this part of the world. Last year, while dealing with the direct and indirect impact of COVID-19, we were also faced not only by one but two Category 5 cyclones, with Tropical Cyclone Yasa being the third in history and most recent for Fiji. The effects of natural disasters, which have been exacerbated by climate change for nations like us in particular, and our ability to mitigate and adapt to them, are mediated by social and cultural factors, gender norms, and differences in vulnerability. It's important to highlight that the differences in vulnerability arises from multidimensional cultural inequalities and discrimination in our homes, in our communities, in our society. These differences shape differential risks to climate change. People who are socially, economically, culturally, politically, institutionally, or otherwise marginalized are especially vulnerable in these times, and also to some adaptation and mitigation responses. And those groups happen to be mostly women and girls. Women are more prone to nutritional deficiencies because of their unique nutritional needs, especially when they're pregnant or breastfeeding. For girls and women, poor nutritional status is associated with an increased prevalence of anemia, pregnancy and delivery problems, and increased rates of intrauterine growth retardation, low birth weight, and prenatal mortality. Anemia is also associated with cognitive impairments, including poor attention span, diminished working memory, and poor educational outcomes. So you see, gentlemen and women in the room today, the impact on women, and particularly lactating mothers, pregnant women, pregnant young girls, are more exacerbated than our male counterparts. Pregnant and lactating women also face additional challenges as they have an increased need for food and water, and their mobility is limited. Globally, at any given time, and we've heard the stats also in relation to this particular community from the UNFPA representative, we're looking at 600 births, I understand, during the next 3 months. Women and girls also are at a higher risk of physical, sexual, and domestic violence in the aftermath of natural disasters, and are at a higher risk for mood disorders. Psychological stress is likely to be heightened after disasters, particularly where families are displaced and have to live in emergency or transitional housing. Overcrowding, lack of privacy, and the collapse of regular routines and livelihood patterns can contribute to anger, frustration, gender-based violence, with children and women most vulnerable. So increased time spent collecting water even for women and girls increases the risk of sexual violence for them. Women and girls, and in particular adolescent girls, may face barriers to accessing health services like that provided here due to poor control over economic and other assets to avail themselves to health care and cultural restrictions on their mobility to seek the same care. This disproportionate impact of disasters on women and girls demands a targeted response. And what we are here to launch today is one such targeted response, particularly identifying the vulnerability of women and girls to natural disasters and putting together a response that is fitting, that is worthy of such vulnerability. I wish to acknowledge the great work of the Safety and Protection Cluster with the support of UNFPA, our development partner in particular, UN Women and stakeholders from government and civil society on the assessments and setting up of women-friendly spaces to particularly help women and girls affected by Tropical Cyclone Yasa. We've received the highest level of political support through the women-friendly spaces by the Honorable Prime Minister himself, by the Minister for Rural and Maritime Development, and the Honorable Minister for Health and Medical Services. I must also acknowledge the strong partnership amongst stakeholders to enable the initiative that we're here to launch today. The Ministry of Health and Medical Services, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, DFAT, UNFPA, provincial councils, Commissioner Northen's team, communities, village health workers, and youth advocates, and also my team here in the North. Thank you for collaborating to bring this to fruition today. Ladies and gentlemen, UNFPA has provided funding to support the midwives, village health workers, and youth volunteers, and provided dignity kits and other resources for these spaces, with DFAT support for pre-positioning of supplies, and supported the whole initiative with a team on the ground. We've heard from the UNFPA rep about the key characteristics of these women-friendly spaces and where they're located in the Northern Division. I believe the operation hours for these centers will be from 9 to 4 p.m. For the stakeholders that are here today, and I'd also like to acknowledge our young girl that's here with us today. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to see this not only as a women-friendly space that's also safe for young girls. Young girls in natural disasters are also a very vulnerable group. And to have young girls such as our lady here today, it's good. You go back and you tell your friends there's space there. Okay, at the Seaqaqa Health Center. Come here and talk to the workers that are here. Share your problems. That's what all this is about. A safe space to enable you to bring those issues that you may not be feeling comfortable to discuss within your community, within your homes. Bring it here and share it within these spaces. It is my hope that the women-friendly spaces will not only greatly assist the women and girls in the Northern Division, but also help us as agencies looking after the interests of women and girls nationally to better our services and make more informed decisions around recovery response post-disasters. As stakeholders, it is critical that we look to the sustainability of an initiative such as this and to ensure that it finds its niche within the existing multi-agency national mechanism for gender-based violence in Fiji. This will ensure clarity in our processes going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, this initiative was established with the aim to help our women recover from Tropical Cyclone Yasa. And I hope that we will have a shared understanding about the importance of the services that are being provided here. We neglect domestic violence, mental health, sexual reproductive health, and health of women and girls in general far too much, and we cannot let that continue to happen. Families ought to be supportive as well and help women and girls access these services. And to the gentlemen that are in this room, thank you for being here. It shows commitment. It also shows that you can be key advocates to women in your communities, encouraging them to access the services that are available at the women-friendly spaces. Encourage them that it is okay to seek help when they need it. And with those few words, I'd like to thank you all for attending today to mark the launching of Northern Women-Friendly Spaces post this Yasa. Inabalik.
We're so grateful and we are blessed to be here.
Especially in the recovered fish. So I would like to I accompanied the services. I did discuss with Director Women that the undertaker would be Seaqaqa undertaking. So welcome to you.